I've watched him do it. And he has definitely played a pivotal role in my own levels of success here at Noble Age Revolution. So I want you all to please stand to your feet and give a very, very loud, loud welcome to our Executive Field Chairman, Mr. J.B. Smith.
Thank you, Brian. What an incredible man he is, an awful act to follow. But I get to try. All right, Brian? Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Thank you all for being back here. We appreciate it. I know lunch was not as expedient as we would like for it to be, but we're glad you're here. So many of you are back here already, and I appreciate that. I thank all of you for taking the time to be here at this event, for the travels that you made. So many of you sacrificed a lot to get here. We want to make sure that you go home with everything that you came for, and that is a way for you to become financially free. Okay, with that, we're going to talk about the dynamics of leadership today. Let me see if I get this right. So I said push that button. Well, that's the off button. Oh, we got one. Finally, thank you. Let me tell you something, folks. A lot of people think that because somebody's at the top, that they somehow miraculously got there. But let me tell you what I know for sure about that. It ain't true. I may be, okay, somebody's helping me out. Thank you. I know a lot of people out there that they look at somebody that's already in a company. They look at Mr. Mark Kempish. They look at Coach Blaine Williams, and they think, well, those guys are supposed to be there. They were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They're supposed to be there. They graduated summa cum laude from Hartford. I graduated, thank you, laude, from high school. So it ain't always that you're born at the top, right? I can tell you that they, like us, and like many of other people that are not here today, have climbed and climbed and climbed mountains trying to get to the top, only to find out that all of a sudden somebody had added a couple of hundred more feet to the top. Right? It seems like they're always moving it away from us, right? Well, we're going to talk about how you get to that top. We're going to talk about the leadership, if I can make this thing work. I'm pushing the right button, guys. I obviously must be the wrong one.
Always do, JC.
One moment. One moment. Not my fault. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it. Sister. All right. Realize this as you leave here today. Those people who have made it to the top, folks, did not just fall there by accident. They climbed and they climbed and they climbed. And guess what? Every time they get to a certain point on there, and when they thought they were almost to the top, they found out that somebody had added some more to the top. And they would climb again. And we think we're almost at the top. And all of a sudden they've added some more to the top. Or you find out the top ain't even there. And you fall off the other side. We've all been in companies like that, right? So today we're going to talk about that somewhat. We're going to talk about leadership, and I'll talk about a paradigm shift that's happening. It's a paradigm, folks, is something that is going on, and it's the way that it's been forever. For example, let's think about the time when all of a sudden some people came along and they were going to make this horseless carriage, Mark. And people were saying to them, that's ridiculous. That thing ain't going to work. You're never going to replace the horse and buggy. We're going to open up a new bridle factory. That can't possibly work. We got to have bridles for our horses. But guess what happened? Cars came, and they came, and they came, and they came. We can put anything into that that same paradigm that a lot of people look at out there and think about the way that we calculate things. I remember in high school they taught us how to do math, right? It was called arithmetic. We learned how to multiply and subtract and add. Somebody came along and they invented something called a calculator. I remember the first calculator we had in the store, J.M. Fields Company, where I was a store manager in Anderson, South Carolina. And we had a sale come out, one of those big sale papers that they send out. Excuse me, and in it was a calculator, a calculator about the size of your hand. It was a special for $99. We sold the heck out of those things. They give those away at the service station now. Talk about a paradigm shift, right? Well, see, we're going the same direction. Let's talk about that. A paradigm is a standard perspective or set of ideas. A paradigm is a way of looking at something. See, the word paradigm comes up a lot in the academic, the scientific, and the business worlds. A new paradigm in business, Kurt, can mean a new way of reaching customers and making money. Now, remember all those of you who are older that would go back a ways to when we would get in our automobile and we would drive to go to an appointment somewhere. Maybe we were going to do a meeting. Somebody just promised me that he was going to have 100 people in a room for us to do an opportunity meeting in about 2.5 hours away from my home. So he orders donuts and coffee, and we're going to have, he got a place like this one for 100 people, and when I got there, he and I had to eat the donuts. Y'all done that? Somebody tell me. Yeah. That kind of thing? Well, see, now you don't have to do it anymore. We now have a new paradigm where we're operating online. See, people, younger people, now, Jake probably knows because he's been around a little while. He's hanging around with Christy. She knows all those stuff. You know, she's smart, right? She knows a lot of stuff. So he probably had to teach her about. He probably wouldn't understand what a payphone was.
I've seen the history.
You read the history book, right? I didn't know this was taught history anymore. Hey, listen, if you talk to some people on the street, you find out they didn't. He either wasn't taught or they didn't learn, right? But listen, I can promise you this. There's some folks sitting here in this room today. And Coach Blaine Williams, I promise you, Mike Feinberg, I promise you, has done this. We were going somewhere. We needed to know how to get there. All of a sudden, we got turned around. We weren't on the right road. So we didn't have GPS then. Oh, we'd have to reach in a seat pocket behind the seat and get out this thing called a map. And try to, or one of those atlas books, you had to flip through it to find your state, and then you had to find your city, and then, right? That was a paradigm. That was what was going on at the time, Paul, right? And then we came out with something now called GPS. You probably got it on your phone, right? Speaking of which, that's a new paradigm, right? See, back then, we would drive along looking for this place. We can't find it. The stupid map is wrong. Don't know who wrote this map, but I'm on this corner right here, and it ain't here. So now what are you going to do? You got to call somebody. So now you got to ride in the rain like it is out there now, right? You got to ride around in the rain looking for what?
A payphone.
A payphone. Oh my God, there's one now. I'm going to get parked. I get parked. I run over to the payphone and I open the door.
It's gone.
And the receiver's gone. But today we don't have to do that. We got all that stuff. Right? That was a paradigm shift, right? Well, let me tell you something, folks. There's another paradigm shift coming. This is the one that, look at that. We went from the horse and buggies. And all of a sudden we had this old Model A or Model T or whatever they called those models back then. And then all of a sudden we got these fancy new cars. That's a paradigm shift. Remember, the bridle makers were going into business because this thing with the car ain't gonna work, right? And now look at us. Look at the parking lot out there. Look at all those $8 for parking fees, right? That's a paradigm shift too, right? We used to go to Hotel Park Free. Now, dynamic leadership formula, folks, here's the deal. Leaders do it first. My great mentor from years ago had a saying. He said, you just do it. And I don't know how Nike came up with that, but that's beside the point. I remember Art Williams came to Brunswick, Georgia. I was in my office one day. It was the first part of July in 1986. And I got a phone call. Answered the phone and said, this is Mr. Smith. I said, this is J.P. Smith. Well, this is Art Williams' secretary. Art and Andrew are going to be coming down that way to spend a holiday for 4th of July. And Art wants to come to a meeting for you and your team. I said, when was that? Well, like 2 days from now. Well, 2 days from now, we had a meeting. We had about 400 people there to come. And Art did his famous just do it speech. You just do it, and do it, and do it, and do it, till the job gets done. That's what leaders do. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah!
Our leaders do it first. A leader is one that knows the way, shows the way, and goes the way. Right, Vern? My great friend, Zig Ziglar, I call him my friend. I met him in 1964. That was before some of you were born. He said, you were born to win, but to be a winner, you must plan to win, prepare to win, and expect to win. Every day when we get up, we got to plan to win. We got to prepare to win, coach. And we got to expect to win. I expect to win in this business. People said, JP, how did you do this? How did you do that? I did it because I expected it to happen. I am where I am because I expected it to happen. And that's the way all of you have to be. You have to be that way, Alicia. You have to expect to win. Right? Leadership attributes. Be a role model. You understand that when you're talking to people, they're looking for a role model. They're looking for some leadership. They're looking for a way out of this mess they're in. Everybody ain't in a mess, but you know that sometimes we're just out there floundering around. We don't know where we're going, Mary, right? So we got to expect to win, and here's the leadership attribute. Be a role model. Be charismatic. Be energized. Be integral. Be truthful. Be supportive. Lead by example. Help people grow. Empower your teammates. It's already been talked about up here today. The great Brian Louis talked about it. You got to make sure that you build up the people you're working with every day. Say something good. Find something good somebody did today. You build them up. Be an inspirer. Create a vision. I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't believe that Coach Blaine Williams and Mr. Mark Campese created a vision. Without a vision, the people perish. You heard that part, right? Yeah. We have a vision. I bought into that vision. You bought into that vision. Mike bought into that vision, right? And Monique bought into that vision. Vern and Gwen bought into that vision. Jenny, are you in? I'm in. You're in the vision, right? Create a vision. Truly great leaders understand that compassion and kindness fosters the same type of behavior amongst their teams and builds a far more cohesive team environment where everyone feels as if they're part of something greater than themselves. Is there any doubt in your mind, Rosalinda, that we are in something bigger than us individually?
No doubt in my mind whatsoever.
How about it, Frank? No doubt. How about it, Brother Watson? No doubt at all. Absolutely correct. And because these two guys have created a vision and given us the opportunity to buy into that vision. That's where we are, Miss Vicki. We're in that vision. See, they understand that compassion compassion and kindness fosters the kind of attitudes we want coming back to us. Right? They understand that it's easy to be nice to people if you try. See, God gives me two choices every morning when I wake up. I don't know that He speaks to me particularly, but He speaks into me somehow. And He says, John, you got two choices today. One choice is you can be in a bad mood all day and interrupt everybody's day around you. You can make the whole world mad if you talk to the whole world today. Right, Brother Jim? Right. Or you can be in a good mood. Brian mentioned it earlier. I go into a grocery store. Sometimes my daughter James does most of it now, but we're going into a grocery store. Somebody's in that line, and you know the poor person that's working there makes $9 or $10 or $11 an hour, right, on average. And they've been there all day, and there's 29 people in her line. And you walk up to her, and you say, well, hello, Miss Monique, because they wear the name badge, right? If they don't, ask them their name. How you doing, Miss Monique? Well, I don't know. I've been so busy today, I'll be glad when it's getting off time. Well, how you doing? I'm doing absolutely incredibly well. And guess what? The day's still young. I'm expecting it to get better. And you know what happens? Most of the time, they say, well, I guess I'm doing okay too. See, you infect people by your attitude. That's what Coach and Mark are so good at. They got that kindness about them. They want everybody to win. Yeah. Right? You got to be understanding. Be able to recognize the triggers that provoke an internal or emotional response from your teammates. What does that mean? You got to find out what is it that Dick and Mary Reed want out of this. You find out what a prospect is wanting. You find out what that prospect is looking for. If they come into business, what is it you hope to accomplish? And then you write it down. You make notes about it. I talk to people every single day. I'm making notes every day. Because I want to be able to come back to them and say, hey, Kurt, maybe we're on the way to that new house you were talking about. Right? Amen. Amen. Talk to them. Right? Be bold. Lead boldly, but never bully your teammates with your perceived power. One of the worst things that can happen is you recruit a few people and all of a sudden you think you God. Ain't right. Ain't but one, ain't you. Right? And you treat people the way people are supposed to be treated. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? Lead boldly. I don't think there's any question that our leaders have boldness. The things they've done amaze me when I think about the things that they've gone through to get to where we are right now. You know where we are right now, folks? We're a week and a couple of weeks, and everything that's been in front of us before, Alicia's going to be gone and forgotten. Right? Remember this one too, that bottom line on that second paragraph. Remember, if you got something to say, where'd it go? Remember, if you would be offended by something that you're about to say, if somebody said it to you, don't say it. So, you may get on the phone with some, Brian mentioned it earlier. I get questions. I invite questions. I like for people to ask me questions when I'm on a webinar. Every day, that's right. I ask them, and you know, it's okay if they ask me the same thing over and over again. Because somebody else might have just joined that for the first time today. And they hadn't heard that answer yet. Right? So it'd be easy to pop off and say, listen, how many times do I have to tell you this? Right? Any of you ever thought this kind of thing? Not me. I don't. No, not me. If you would be offended by it, if it were said to you, keep it to yourself. Treat people like they are somebody, and be an humble leader. See, humility is one of the greatest virtues that we're born with. Mark Peace is one of the great of our times. When he's on this stage talking to you from his heart, folks, you can hear it in his heart, but he's a humble man. He's somebody you can approach. Coach Blaine Williams, great at what he does. I am so proud that these two guys are the guys running this company. But they're humble and they're approachable. So many companies out there that you've been involved with, you didn't feel like you could approach the owner of the company. I tell you, Kenny Trout was one of those people. He was awesome at what he did, but man, he was not a people person. Good thing he had Steve Smith as partner with him, another Smith, right? So he could help him out with that. But wasn't a people person, not approachable. I like to be in a company where I can talk to whoever I want to talk to. Right? And you got to be humble. And it's not just about these two guys, it's about you and your team. See, you're the leader of your team, guys. You're the leader. If you got one person on your team, Bart, you're the leader. You have to act like a leader, Billy Ray, right? Now, humility, one of the greatest virtues you've won. Don't ever forget where you came from, or as we say in Georgia, don't be getting too big for your britches. I got a lot of those Georgia things, right? We won't go into all of them today. Humility is a great thing. Just last week, Bonnie and I were talking. By the way, Alabama won the SEC championship last Saturday here in Atlanta. Right, right, roll tide. See, whether you like Alabama or you don't like Alabama is irrelevant. Bonnie said, how is it, what is it that makes him so great? How does he get those boys to be so great year after year? In 9 years, won 5 national championships. There's coaches that have been in business for 90 years, ain't never won a championship, right? And now he's just won another SEC title. That makes 6 of those. They didn't get the last year, but they still won the championship, right? She said, is it a cult? Does he clone them? No. He just understands the dynamics of leadership. He understands how to get his boys to work it. See, I say boys because there are no girls playing college football, right? Don't understand that. I'm not being a sexist here. Knows how to get his boys to work it. He's a brilliant tactician, and he knows how to motivate his players. Have y'all been listening to the inspiration calls when Mark gives his talk, his word of the day, his quote of the day, or a coach when he comes on, and listen to those after hours calls that we do, the coach's corner, whatever you want to call them, folks. Listen to that. Motivation, inspiration. There's a difference between those two, by the way, you know, between motivation and inspiration. Motivation is something that will go away real quick when you leave here today. But if you get inspired by something, it's going to be there the next time you think about it, the next time you need it. The inspiration, Scotland, is what is going to stick with you in here. Motivation is going to wash away in about an hour or two after you leave here. When you get out there in that rain trying to drive home, you forget about that part. Nick Saban said you win championships by following a process, making the difference. When you were in a national championship team game, like last year, January, right here in Atlanta, at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Georgia's ahead by 2 touchdowns. And the kid that was the quarterback had already won 1 championship and brought him to the second one. And at halftime, coach pulled him out of the game, put in a freshman quarterback. Everybody's going to say, what the heck are you thinking, Saban? If he'd have lost the game, obviously we'd all know that, right? we'd already Monday morning quarterback him out of business. We knew you shouldn't have done that. But it didn't work that way, did it? He made a call, and the call won them the game. Everybody don't have to understand the call. You understand that Coach and Mark have made calls? We don't understand. Why did they do that? Why in the world would they go for 6 months with this software provider and then just can his butt and start all over again? You think everybody understood that? I questioned it for a moment. See, but you got to understand the dynamics of leadership. You got to know how to motivate people. See, great leaders strategically plan each move, and they go forward with courageous action, inspiring all who follow them. I'm going to go through this real quickly. 6 dynamic traits of an outstanding leader. Number 1, outstanding leaders are positively contagious. I'm going to tell you something, folks. Call me a leader, don't call me a leader, but one thing you better know, if you get around me, you're going to get the contagion. I'm going to get something on you. You got to be contagious, Brian, right? And you got to inspire and motivate other people to go out there and do the job just like Nick Saban does. They share the vision, the purpose, and they plan with others to create an impact. We're trying to create an impact on society. You understand that? Amen. Every leader has his own unique skills and specializations. See, right here on this front row, every one of you got some leadership capabilities. They might not all be the same one. You might be the greatest recruiter in this whole building, Kirk. But that don't mean you're the greatest at everything you do, right? You got to go with the talent you got. You got to use that talent, Emmanuel, every single day if you're going to be in this business and become a leader in the business and become successful. And here's what's required to make that leap from a leader to an outstanding leader. See, a leader's vision will determine how an organization is going to look like in the future and how it's going to grow.
Yes.
See, a visionary leader set out a strategic plan of action, like our guys have done. And they're going to follow it, and follow it, and following it. And until they get to that point where they never, what was that earlier? Never, ever, ever, ever quit. Winston Churchill, by the way. They set out to do something that opens to suggestions. You know why they chose people to be on the ELC and the EAB? Because they realized that some of us may have an idea that they didn't think of. See, a narcissistic leader already thinks he or she knows everything there is to know about everything, right? They don't need any suggestions. These men understand that some of us, Vicki, may have an idea that they ought to hear about, and so they do. They encourage it. Without strong visionary leadership, no strategy will ever be executed effectively by Robert S. Kaplan. And here's all you got to do, folks. You got to be a servant leader. What does it take to be a servant leader? Sir? How can I be of assistance to you today, Mr. Cooper? How can I help you today? What can I do for you today to help you enjoy your business and become a success, patience in your business? See, leaders lead by example. They help, they influence, they're self-driven, and they live by what they preach. By walking the talk, leaders encourage other people to adopt the same standards as well. See, it's called train the trainer. Teach the people. Teach them how to fish rather than giving them a fish. John C. Maxwell says a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. That's what we have. That's what you got to strive to be. You got to be that one. See, not one person in this room is incapable of being a leader. Every one of you can be a leader in some way. All you gotta do is go out there and show it. Show the people. Show them, right? Whoops, I missed one. Integrity, I'll go through this real quick now. Integrity, folks, is choosing to do the right thing even when nobody's watching. You understand that some people make a big deal, some leaders make a big deal out of saying to somebody, I'm going to do this for you, I did that for you, I did that for you. Our guys don't do that. A good leader doesn't do that. Good leader gives the credit to Jim, or to Dick, or to Mary, right? Leaders with a strong foundation of integrity are honest, they treat people fairly, and they share information necessary to get the work done. They demonstrate integrity by reflecting openness in all their dealings. Number 4, self-confidence is a core trait that every leader should have. See, you can have all of the confidence you want. You just got to make it happen. You got to decide. I told a story about a man who used that word. You just got to decide. You don't have to think it through it. You just got to decide. I decide I want to have self-confidence. I'm still working on that, by the way. That was a joke. Hey, Dale, I usually don't have to tell people it's a joke. Right, Ralph? Confident leaders are able to make tough decisions. Wow, man, I know 2 guys that meet that criteria, right? They lead their team with authority. They take responsibility without waiting for rewards. Folks, listen. Look at the people that we got on the EAB and the ELC. They are doing a service for this company without expecting any instant rewards. If we wanted instant rewards, we could have gone somewhere else and gone to work with a company that's already in business, Teresa, and got paid next week. I've been in companies where I got paid every week, sometimes more than once a week, sometimes a lot. But it didn't mean I liked the people I worked for. Paul back into Peter back there, I said, confidence comes not from always being right, but from not fearing to be wrong. See, you got to think about that for a minute. It comes from not always comes from being right, but from not fearing to be wrong. In other words, even if you think you can't do it anyway. Right? RBS Firestone is a great Firestone tire and rubber company. It's only as we develop others that we permanently